Well, it's been a long time since I've preached, and I'm ready to go. And I was going to preach a very upbeat sermon announcing the preaching theme of the year, which was going to be, along with our new religious education program, World of Wonder. And then this summer happened. The cover story of the New Statesman called it simply The Summer Blood. That's a pretty daunting headline, isn't it? Yes, Sam's prayer outlined many burdens upon our heart this morning. The world's policeman's kind of tired. And yet, one more war, and I'm sure we'll get this one right. What could possibly go wrong? And yes, violence sweeping across the Middle East and across the eastern borders of Mother Russia, and the desolation of Ebola, and warrior cops in Ferguson, where in America an unarmed black man is shot every 28 hours. How about that? Robert Lowell, the poet, in 1967, read these lines in our Boston Common. It's hard to believe, in this poem called Waking Early Sunday Morning, that a poet could anticipate the way we feel so many decades later. But he wrote, "Pity the planet. All joy is gone. Peace to our children in small war on the heels of small war until the end of time to police the earth." Robert Gates, who was Secretary of Defense for so long, across two presidents, said in 2007, "The challenge of the 21st century is that crises don't come and go. They just seem to come and stay." And so I realized, after a summer like this, that for me to get up here and be blithe and to be glib was simply not fair to you, nor would it have been honorable to myself. And so I knew that I had to dig deeper. And I had to acknowledge that, yes, it is a world of wonder, but it's a world of trouble too. And I have to say, so perhaps, and no, certainly, it has always been so. We are a very dramatic species. We are tempted by the spilling of blood and the dark impulses of each moment. And then again, twirled and spun around again and again, we are also creatures that know that internal and ennobling tug of compassion and the urgencies of love. It is a world of trouble. And to preach a simple message shorn of uncomfortable truths would not be right. E.B. White received a letter in 1973 of someone saying that the world was going to hell. He wrote this reply: "Hope is the thing that is left to us. And at a bad time, I shall get up on Sunday morning and wind the clock as a contribution to order and steadfastness." Sailors have an expression about the weather. They say the weather is a great bluffer. I guess the same is true of human society. Things can look dark, and then a break shows in the clouds, and all has changed. Sometimes rather suddenly. It is quite obvious that the human race has made a queer mess of life on this planet. And as a people, we probably harbor seeds of goodness that have lain for a long time, waiting to sprout when the conditions are right. And our curiosity and our relentlessness, our inventiveness, our ingenuity have led us into deep trouble, yes. But we can only hope that these exact same traits will enable us to claw our way out. So hang on to your hat, hang on to your hope, and wind the clock, for tomorrow's another day. Sincerely, E.B. White. That advice decades ago, like Lowell's, is something to hang on to. And that phrase about curiosity and inventiveness and ingenuity, they remind me of what I have long chosen to be the theme of this year. It is a world of wonder. And I believe wonder is the emotion that will save us. And what can save us from ourselves? Many of our fellow citizens would answer immediately, religion. Religion will save you. And as I stand here at the pulpit, wearing this lovely robe from Harvard Divinity School, I know I'm kind of career obligated to say, yes, absolutely right. But I can't say that in any great sincerity. Because we all know that religion, being so powerful, can also be perverted. No other word will do. And then someone might say, secularism. If not religion, secularism. That will save us. If the world could simply be shorn of faiths, we'll be all right. But unfortunately, the 20th century doesn't really bear that out. The two bloodiest social movements of the 20th century were both explicitly secular and even proudly atheistic. Hitler's National Socialist movement and Stalin's purges. And so, I ask myself, as I'm sure you ask yourself, what is the answer? What is the solution to this conundrum of being human and living in times such as these? Alice Walker in The Color Purple gives us the beginning, I believe, of an answer. She has her character think, I think us here to wonder myself, to wonder, to ask. And that in wondering about the big things and asking about the big things, you learn about the little ones almost by accident. And the more I wonder, the more I love. This emotion, this primal human emotion that every child feels and that I hope you feel today and that you will never lose, is this deep curiosity, this wonderment, this fascination, this being willing to be drawn into the world and let the world enter you, no matter how dangerous and soiled it may appear. There is no other answer. That's it. That is what will save us. I wanted to write, that is what will save us. But that will only come true if we make it so. The story of Rachel Carson that Amy shared with all of us earlier in the service is for me a highly instructive one and very inspiring. Her book, Silent Spring, is often called one of the most important books in all of American history. But her message is more than just self-preservation from our poisoning ourselves with pesticides. It was, in fact, a clarion call to save us from ourselves in all dimensions. Yes, she was a scientist. And yes, she was a poet. And she made clear in the very last year of her life, when she was dying of breast cancer and knew it, that she raced from interview to interview to congressional hearing, trying to speak an articulate voice for a way in which the world might become our companion and our friend again. And she said, the only way that we can do this is to reconnect to a deep instinctual sense of wonder. This summer, we need to hear her again. She said in a speech when she accepted the John Burroughs Award, I really want you to hear this, because this is the sermon in a nutshell. The more clearly we can focus our attention on the wonders and realities of the universe about us, the less taste we will have for the destruction of our race. Wonder and humility are wholesome emotions, and they do not exist side by side with a lust for destruction. When her niece died, she took on the care and education of that little boy, Roger, that Amy mentioned. She wrote, "A child's world is fresh and new and beautiful, full of wonder and excitement. It is our misfortune that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision, that true instinct for what is awe-inspiring, can be dimmed and even lost when we reach adulthood. But those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts." And she added this, if a child is to keep their inborn sense of wonder, they need the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with that child the joy, excitement, and mystery of the world we live in. So it doesn't matter how old we become. We have to actually dare ourselves to never lose this freshening vision. And I honestly can't think of a better reason for our existence as a congregation as we gather together. We need to be companions to one another, yes, across generations, but also just side by side. To refuse to let each other's sense of the utterly natural processes and promise of life lose its miraculous quality. Betty Smith, in a book, The Tree Grows in Brooklyn, says words that have haunted me since I read them in high school. They've gone with me a long way. She said, look at everything, always, as though you were seeing it either for the first time or the last time. Thus is your time on earth filled with glory. I don't care when and where and how we retain this inner vision. It can be from science, it can be from literature, it can be from art, from moral philosophy, or a 6-year-old child. I really don't care, because in a world of trouble, we need constant refreshments of the soul just to make it, to recover and to protect the motive power of what the Jews have called tikkun, to heal the world, and not incidentally, ourselves. Other churches can use Scripture, and we do too. But we cast our nets more broadly. U2 streamed out their new album on iTunes, and there's a passage. I just had to quote Bono today. I just couldn't resist. There's no end to grief. That's how I know, and why I need to know. There is no end to love. My God, that's what this is all about. Our debt to whatever future lies before us and to all creation. This world we did not make, cannot make, and never can remake. Joseph Conrad said near the end of his life that he appealed in everything he wrote, quote, to that part of our being which is a gift, to the capacity of delight and wonder, to our sense of pity and pain, to the latent feeling of fellowship with all creation, to the subtle but invincible conviction of solidarity that knits together the loneliness of innumerable hearts, which binds together all humanity, the dead to the living, and the living to the unborn. to turn from our absolutely petty hatreds and blood feuds and save ourselves anew. Wonder saves us because it isn't just standing in wonderment or befuddlement or appreciation. When you feel a sense of wonder, it is an emotion lived on so many different levels. And that's what makes it powerful, because it stirs within us something beyond what we're looking at. A sunset, painting, a leaf, a beloved face, or just the sheer unlikeliness of being alive in the first place. But when we experience wonder, Rachel Carson says it so well, that scientist with the eyes of a poet. She understood the primal wonder as more than just curiosity, that it is really a stretching of our heart's imagination beyond the object we're looking at or apprehending into something beyond the everyday, the literal, the factual. She called it, quote, a passion for some universal truth that lies just beyond our grasp, a meaning that haunts and ever eludes us. And in its very pursuit, we approach the ultimate mystery of life itself. It enlivens and energizes us. It forces us to re-engage with life and with each other in a profoundly new way. Wonder, therefore, changes us. I am a Unitarian Universalist because of this truth. When religious dogmas and documents fail to move us, I believe that wonder still can and still does. To sense the fragility, the precariousness, the sheer unlikely beauty of all of this. This is a world of wonder. In this week alone, on Monday night, above us, above our heads, if we could only see, was the beautiful deep orange glow of the harvest moon. And on Friday, arching across most of New England, from a sun surge of ions, the aurora borealis, glowing so mysteriously. And as I walked here this morning, the first searing shape of yellow into the trees upon the common. Everywhere you look, if you can see the beauty of this difficult world, it keeps pressing in on us. It asks something of us. It demands something of us. To open our eyes, to unclench our fists, to unlock recalcitrant hearts. And then a new balance is struck. The pain and the beauty, all held in one. All in wonder. Amen.